Okay, so additive manufacturing doesn't sound like the most thrilling topic in the world. It kind of sounds like it's going to put you to sleep, yet that is exactly what I'm going to talk about today. How many of you people have heard of additive manufacturing before now? Anybody? Yeah, one? Okay. How many of you have heard of 3D printing? There we go. As it turns out, it's one and the same. I've always found 3D printing to be pretty cool in and of itself, but I also realized that it has a lot of potential in such a neat process, and it's showing a lot of that potential in in the role that it plays in the medical field. And so I'm going to talk about like 3D printing in general. It's how it's helping out people and making their lives easier. And then lastly, bioprinting. So first off, I should probably explain what 3D printing is. These are some printers. That's what they kind of generally look like. And the name of it is pretty clear. It's 3D printing. And so the National Science Foundation has an article on their site that describes it pretty well. It said that 3D printing and also 3D printing and custom manufacturing from concept to classroom, that's the article name. It says, quote, also known as binder jetting, the powder is laid down and then a binding agent is applied to make it all stick together. And it will solidify and then grow over time as you add layers upon layers and eventually get a three-dimensional object. And there's also another technique called material extrusion, which is when you have something like melted plastic that is pumped through the printer head, and then that plastic cools and solidifies in whatever shape you put it in. So, it would have been cooler on the big screen. And you can make it out of other materials, and there are other techniques as well. You can make it out of metal or wood even, or candy. And so the rainbow candies are supposed to be sour, and the brown one is actually chocolate, and the little white diamonds up there are supposed to be like those pastel mints that melt in your mouth. So yeah, it's pretty darn cool. Since its introduction 20 years ago, 3D printing has definitely made the manufacturing industry quite unique. Peter Cattell says in his 2012 CQ Researcher article, will it revolutionize manufacturing? He says that the process is slow and painfully slow and expensive, it does not make for very good mass production, but it is much better for prototypes and objects that are have complicated geometry and have a short production life. And he actually quoted David L. Bowl, a mechanical engineering professor at the University of Texas, on that. But it is becoming more and more available for the public, where it used to be a technology only used in factories. It is now available for personal buying for only a couple $100 and only. Cattell also referenced Holler's Associates, which is a big name in the 3D printing world, and they gave some statistics on 3D printers and how they are growing in popularity. And so professional grade printers sold only about 2,000 in 2001, but now it has made its jump to 6,500 10 years after. Another chart says that 25,000 printers are in use in 2011, which is quite a big jump. It's easier to make custom parts, and that functionality is a really unique tool in the medical field. So many people can do stuff that they couldn't before, like making prosthetic hands. One story covered by the Kansas City Channel 5 News reports that a mother made her son a hand using her library's computers and 3D printer, and using a open source file called RoboHand. There are also other projects like the Open Hand project and Enabling the Future that gives out files for many other styles and styles of prosthetic hands that are good for anybody's use who would need them. It's also it's also important in the bioprinting world, where any sort of tissue engineering using 3D printing is called bioprinting. And so scientists have actually been able to print organs like ears and whatnot, and a liver. They can print a liver through using 3D printing to lay down a pathway for the blood flow, and then printing the liver around it. And 3D printing has many uses, and sci-fi, I don't know. It's cool.